Hello and welcome to this e-module on solid waste management. Let's take a look at the learning objectives of this module. By the end of this module, you will be able to describe what is solid waste management, explain benefits of waste management, discuss effects of poor waste management, classify categories of solid waste and waste management hierarchy, understand functional elements of waste management system, explain methods of solid waste management, discuss the prevention and management of solid waste at site, describe on-site and off-site waste management, explain how to maintain records, describe impact on business, discuss Indian laws for waste management. Let us begin with the introduction to solid waste management. What do we mean by solid waste and why their management is important? Let's take a look. Every day, tons of solid waste are disposed of at various landfill sites. This waste comes from homes, offices, industries, and various other agricultural related activities. These landfill sites produce foul smell if waste is not stored and treated properly. It can pollute the surrounding air and can seriously affect the health of humans, wildlife, and our environment. Solid waste refers to the range of garbage arising from animal and human activities that are discarded as unwanted and useless. Solid waste is generated from industrial, residential, and commercial activities in a given area and may be handled in a variety of ways. Industries are known to be one of the biggest contributors of solid waste. They include light and heavy manufacturing industries, construction sites, fabrication plants, canning plants, power and chemical plants. These industries produce solid waste in form of housekeeping wastes, food wastes, packaging wastes, ashes, construction and demolition materials, special wastes, medical wastes, as well as other hazardous wastes. Commercial facilities and buildings are yet another source of solid waste today. Commercial buildings and facilities in this case refer to hotels, markets, restaurants, godowns, stores, and office buildings. Some of the solid waste generated from these places include plastics, food wastes, metals, paper, glass, wood, cardboard materials, special wastes, and other hazardous wastes. The management of these wastes will be discussed in detail in this module. Regardless of the origin, content, or hazard potential, solid waste must be managed systematically to ensure environmental best practices. As solid waste management is a critical aspect of environmental hygiene, it needs to be incorporated into environmental planning. Now let's learn what is solid waste management. Solid waste management is defined as the discipline associated with control of generation, storage, collection, transport or transfer, processing and disposal of solid waste materials in a way that best addresses the range of public health, conservation, economics, aesthetic, engineering and other environmental considerations. Solid waste management is one of the major challenges faced by many countries around the globe. Inadequate collection, recycling or treatment, and uncontrolled disposal of waste in dumps can lead to severe hazards such as health risks and environmental pollution. Collection includes the gathering of solid waste and recyclable materials and the transport of these materials after collection to the location where the collection vehicle is emptied. This location may be a material processing facility, a transfer station, or a landfill disposal site. Waste disposal today is done primarily by landfilling or closure of existing dump sites. Modern sanitary landfills are not dumps. They are engineered facilities used for disposing of solid wastes on land without creating hazards to public health or safety, such as the breeding of insects and the contamination of groundwater. Let us take a look at some important definitions. Waste. Any material unused and rejected as worthless or unwanted. Waste management. A systematic way of segregating, handling, storing, and concepts to minimize the waste. Hazardous waste. Any waste which by reason of any of its physical, chemical, reactive, toxic, flammable, explosive or corrosive characteristics causes danger or is likely to cause danger to health or environment, whether alone or when in contact with other wastes or substances. Non-hazardous waste. Any waste which is not classified as hazardous waste by the legislation. Recyclable waste. Any waste when subjected to some process and converted to a usable item. Non-recyclable waste. Any waste which cannot be further reprocessed into any other usable form and is disposed to landfill. Food waste. Any waste from eatables either pre, during or after preparation. Special plastic waste. Any plastic waste which cannot be recycled, for example, wafer covers like Lay's, Kurkure, etc. Now you must be wondering why solid waste management is important. Let us see the objective for this purpose. The primary goal of solid waste management is reducing and eliminating adverse impacts of waste materials on human health and environment to support economic development and superior quality of life. Now let's learn about the benefits of waste management. Many organizations are content simply to establish a system for removing trash. Increasingly, greater attention is being paid to waste management, and proactive organizations are seeing the benefits of establishing a waste reduction program. Save money. Increasing recycling can cut the disposal costs and improve the bottom line. Knowledge is power. By understanding the amount and types of waste produced by the organization, it is better positioned to find ways to reduce hauling costs and negotiate for waste and recycling services that actually fit the needs. Streamline reporting and information sharing. Tracking all waste management activities in one platform and using a standard set of metrics makes it easier to share and report information with stakeholders. Enhance sustainability. Managing waste, water, and energy more efficiently are core components of sustainability. Improving the organization's sustainability can boost the corporate image, attract quality tenants to your properties, and positively engage employees. Reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Waste prevention and recycling offer significant potential for reducing greenhouse gas emissions which contribute to climate change. Conserve resources. Reuse and recycling conserves natural resources including trees, metals, and water. Now we will study what are the effects of poor waste management on environment. Dumping of waste materials forces biodegradable materials to rot and decompose under improper, unhygienic, and uncontrolled conditions. After a few days of decomposition, a foul smell is produced and it becomes a breeding ground for different types of diseases causing insects as well as infectious organisms. On top of that, it also spoils the aesthetic value of the area. Solid wastes from industries are a source of toxic metals, hazardous wastes, and chemicals. When released to the environment, the solid wastes can cause biological and physiochemical problems to the environment and may affect or alter the productivity of the soils in that particular area. Toxic materials and chemicals may seep into the soil and pollute the groundwater. During the process of collecting solid waste, the hazardous wastes usually mix with ordinary garbage and other flammable wastes, making the disposal process even harder and risky. When hazardous wastes like pesticides, batteries containing lead, mercury or zinc, cleaning solvents, radioactive materials, e-waste and plastics are mixed up with paper and other scraps are burned, they produce dioxins, and gases. These toxic gases have a potential of causing various diseases, including cancer. Now let's learn about the categories of solid waste. In general, waste can be categorized based on material such as plastic, paper, glass, metal, and organic waste, based on hazard potential, chemical, biological, and physical, including radioactive, flammable, infectious, toxic, non-toxic. The origin of waste, such as industrial, domestic, commercial, institutional, or construction and demolition. The different categories of solid waste typically generated in a facility are as follows: general waste, paper, cotton scraps, cardboard, carton box, wood waste, garden waste, covers. Plastic, recyclable plastic, packed water bottles, cups, plates, polystyrene, thermocol, etc. Metallic waste, any metal waste, copper, aluminium wires, bars, etc. Food waste, left out food, expired product, vegetable skin, etc. Hazardous waste, used oil, used batteries, paint waste, etc. Electrical waste, HW. Wires, cables. STP waste, STP sludge. Debris, construction waste. Electronic waste, HW. Computer peripherals, floppy, recordable disks, chips, PCB, etc. Batteries, HW. Used batteries. Biomedical waste, HW. Syringes, contaminated cotton, needles, contaminated masks, etc. Let us now study about the waste management hierarchy. The waste hierarchy, typically displayed as an inverted triangle, offers a hierarchical approach to showing most preferred versus least preferred approaches to solid waste generation and management. The essential thought process is that the avoidance of consumption and source reduction along with reuse are preferable to cycling, which in turn is preferred to waste to energy and ultimately to placement in landfills. Waste management at most sites follow the waste hierarchy and is governed by the common principle of prevention, minimization, reduce, reuse, recycle and waste to energy and waste to landfill. Please take a moment to review the waste hierarchy. Let us study each principle in detail. We will begin by reduce. The best method of waste management is to reduce both the amount and toxicity of waste produced. This could be achieved by involving the site management, client management, technical operations, and procurement teams. Reuse. All personnel are expected to reuse the materials if possible, where applicable and practical and safe to do so. This practice minimizes the amount of waste generated by the company. Recycle. All are expected to separate recyclable waste from disposable waste. Waste which can be reprocessed to produce the lower grade usable products. Examples of materials being recycled by most facilities are office and cafeteria wastes, that is, paper, plastics, beverage bottles or cans, corrugated cardboard, electronics, broken or obsolete, batteries, printer cartridges, lab hazardous wastes, waste to energy, process by which the waste is converted to energy, waste to landfill, process by which if waste cannot be processed by any means, it is to be sent to filling. Now let's learn about functional elements of waste management system. There are 6 functional components of the waste management system as outlined below. Waste generation refers to activities involved in identifying materials which are no longer usable and are either gathered for systematic disposal or thrown away. Waste collection. A crucial phase of waste management includes activities such as placing waste collection bins, collecting waste from those bins and accumulating trash in the location where the collection vehicles are emptied. Although the collection phase involves transportation, this is typically not the main stage of waste transportation. On-site handling, storage and processing are the activities at the point of waste generation which facilitate easier collection. For example, different color waste bins to segregate different type of wastes are placed at the sites which generate sufficient waste. Waste transfer and transport are the activities involved in moving waste from the local waste collection locations to the regional waste disposal site in large waste transport vehicles. Waste processing and recovery refer to the facilities, equipment and techniques employed both to recover reusable or recyclable materials from the waste stream and to improve the effectiveness of other functional elements of waste management. Waste disposal is the final stage of waste management. It involves the activities aimed at the systematic disposal of waste materials in locations such as landfills or waste-to-energy facilities. Now we will study the methods of solid waste management and will begin with sanitary landfill. Sanitary landfill is the most popular solid waste disposal method used today. Garbage is basically spread out in thin layers, compressed and covered with soil or plastic foam. Modern landfills are designed in such a way that the bottom of the landfill is covered with an impervious liner, which is usually made of several layers of thick plastic and sand. This liner protects the groundwater from being contaminated because of leaching or percolation. When the landfill is full, it is covered with layers of sand, clay, topsoil and gravel to prevent seepage of water. Next method of management is incineration. This method involves burning of solid wastes at high temperatures until the wastes are turned into ashes. Incinerators are made in such a way that they do not give off extreme amounts of heat when burning solid wastes. This method of solid waste management can be done by individuals, municipalities, and even institutions. The good thing about this method is the fact that it reduces the volume of waste up to 20 or 30% of the original volume. Next method of management is recovery and recycling. Recycling or recovery of resources is the process of taking useful but discarded items for next use. Traditionally, these items are processed and cleaned before they are recycled. The process aims at reducing energy loss, consumption of new material, and reduction of landfills. Moving forward to the next method of management of composting. Due to lack of adequate space for landfills, biodegradable yard waste is allowed to decompose in a medium designed for the purpose. Only biodegradable waste materials are used in composting. Good quality, environmentally friendly manure is formed from the compost and can be used for agricultural purposes. The next method of waste management is pyrolysis. This is method of solid waste management whereby solid wastes are chemically decomposed by heat without presence of oxygen. This usually occurs under pressure and at temperatures of up to 430 degrees Celsius. The solid wastes are changed into gases, solid residue, and small quantities of liquid. Now we will have a look at prevention and management of solid waste at site. Let us discuss about what are the elements of waste prevention and management program. For a waste management program to be effective, it is important that the program is implemented in the correct essence and the roles and responsibilities assigned are carried out diligently. This would involve keeping up to date with regulatory requirements, understanding the waste inventory, its sources, types and disposal methods, understanding and having processes for on-site waste management, handling, storage, etc. Managing vendor and the deliverables thereupon for off-site waste management. having processes to encourage waste prevention, reduction, and recycling with the objective of reducing the waste going off-site. Record keeping for the waste through its life cycle from generation to disposal. The facility staff at the site and vendors contracted for the job of waste management are accountable for certain responsibilities given to them with respect to their job activities. The responsibilities would include ensuring all approvals, licenses are in place, support client in obtaining all necessary permits and maintenance or submission of statutory compliance documents, that is reports or returns. Development of a waste management program in line with the regulatory requirements as stipulated from time to time. The same needs to be duly approved by the client and incorporate any specific client requirements. Implementation of the waste management program on site, adequate resources for the waste prevention and management to be provided. Ensure the vendors involved in collection, handling, storage, disposal, etc. are also aware of the program requirements. All site personnel including occupants and contractor staff following all policies and procedures to ensure compliance with waste management. Develop educational material for on-site management. This could be training modules, posters, signage, labeling, etc. Staff should be encouraged to report all concerns regarding the waste like leaks, spills, etc. Deploy waste systems, that is bins, liners, etc. in adequate quantities. Ensure suitable PPE is available for the staff handling the waste. Keeping a record of all waste generated, stored, transported out of the facility. Requisite reports are to be obtained and maintained from the disposal vendor. All reported issues are to be investigated and significant findings should be reported to client management. Provide a documented yearly review of the program, assuring the all applicable regulations and client expectations are met. Materials and wastes offer an often overlooked opportunity to improve an organization's sustainability objectives, prevent greenhouse gas emissions, and reduce costs. The first step is tracking the amount of waste generated by the organization. For, as the old adage goes, you can't manage what you don't measure. Tracking the waste and recycling provides the key foundation for a successful waste reduction program. To facilitate the tracking of the waste at the site, we need to understand the types of wastes that can potentially be generated on the site, the sources of the wastes identified, the resources required for handling the waste, the safety aspects of the waste handling or storage, MSDS, the regulatory requirements concerning the type of waste, the constraints, limitations to manage the waste. Thereafter, a detailed waste inventory is prepared that lists each waste stream and its regulatory classification to ensure that all applicable regulatory, permit, and client program requirements can be identified. This inventory is reviewed, updated, and documented annually and should comprise of the following information. Waste identified, waste description, hazard or hazards associated with the waste, MSDS. If MSDS not available, lab testing may be resorted to. Source of waste, location details to be indicated, amount of waste generated, type of waste, hazardous, solid, etc. Method of on-site storage or treatment, tank, drums, boxes, incineration. Storage or treatment locations and quantities allowed to be stored on site. Method of disposal, recycling, reuse, treatment, disposal. Now we will study how to manage waste on site. We will begin with general waste. Each waste is managed in accordance with regulatory, permit, and client requirements. Wastes are handled and stored to prevent safety hazards, conditions potentially harmful to on-site personnel or public health, releases to the environment, nuisances such as odors, dust, noise, and unsightliness. Now let's see the typical on-site waste management procedures for different categories of waste. The first category of waste is cardboard waste. All cardboard boxes for recycling are separated from other waste, flat packed and bound securely in bundles of 5 to 10 boxes. These flat packed boxes are bounded with parcel tape or string. The cardboard should not be contaminated with other waste. For sites where skips or compactors are used for confidential waste collections, flat pack the cardboard and place it in the skip with the confidential waste. Now we study how to temporarily store and dispose cardboard waste. Do not store items in any technical rooms or M&E rooms. Label before storage. The retention period and end date may be annotated to aid subsequent disposal. If there is risk of dampness, place boards above the floor so items do not come into contact with the damp surface. Disposal. Cardboard waste can be disposed through government-authorized waste disposal vendors to collect from premises and dispose the same in accordance with government guidelines. Alternatively, cardboard waste can also be recycled through vendors for secondary packing purposes. Facilities managers need to inspect the government-authorized waste disposal vendors' disposal process by way of quarterly audits. The next category of waste is wood and bamboo-related waste. All the wastes pertaining to wood or timber or bamboo are not to be stored inside building premises. Wastes are to be collected and kept in identified disposal areas. Care should be taken to keep the material away from any flammable gas or liquid. Wood and related materials are to be stored near fire protection systems, preferably near fire hydrant lines. Now, let's see how to dispose wood and bamboo-related waste. Wood and related products are disposed through government-authorized waste disposal vendors. Vendors' premises are to be audited by facilities managers on a quarterly basis to ensure strict adherence of procedures approved by local legislations. At no point of time is wood to be used for burning purposes inside or around the premises. The next category of waste is paper waste. All paper-related waste materials are to be collected from the bins and shredders into plastic bags. Care should be taken while storing the bags inside the premises for collection. Paper waste is to be disposed through approved vendors for recycling purpose. While paper bags are stored within the premises, care should be taken to keep them near fire hydrant lines and/or fire extinguishers. Let us see how to dispose paper waste. Paper bags are disposed through approved vendors. Facilities managers are to make surprise checks on the disposal procedures followed by approved vendors. Any vendor caught misusing waste or deviating from approved government procedures will be terminated immediately as waste vendor. The next category of waste is plastics and thermocol waste. Packaging material like bubble wrappers, thermocol and plastic sheets, disposal of tapes like confidential tapes, CCTV tapes, CDs, floppies, etc. are separated from the waste bins. All plastic-related wastes are crushed or shredded before collected inside a plastic bag earmarked for this purpose. Shredding is mandatory for all confidential waste. Plastic wastes are kept separately in the plastic bags. Storage of plastic waste should be done within the vicinity of fire protection system. In case building fire systems are accessible near the area, foam-type fire extinguishers are provided near the storage area. Now let's see how to dispose plastic and thermocol waste. All the plastic wastes are handed over to the approved vendors for recycling the wastes. Facilities managers inspect vendors' disposal process by way of quarterly audits. The next category of waste is confidential waste. Types of confidential waste. All papers, receipts and telephone notes containing any customer details or information, for example, customer account numbers, balances, names and addresses. Copy file notes and correspondence, computer printouts, statements, printed terminal inquiries and cash machine audit rolls. Papers containing any information on personal, security or fraud matters such as audit reports, old vouchers, Carrier company bags and fast bank bags which contain an amount or customer details on the outside. Ledgers, old books, and group telephone directories. Superseded manual pages or disks relating to internal procedures to include circulars, plastic cards, spoiled drafts for distraction, floppy disks containing any confidential information. Handling. The waste can be segregated and disposed through approved vendors as follows: paper, cardboard waste, plastic cards. Other plastic items, for example, carry bags, CCTV videotapes, server backup tapes, etc. Cut plastic cards into a minimum of 6 pieces. Cleaners must not handle refuse sacks containing confidential waste. Ensure they know how to identify this waste, for example, green bin sacks, labeled bins, etc. Facilities manager to check a sample of paper in normal waste paper bins monthly for any confidential material. A logbook for the inspection commenced to be placed at facilities management office area. Seal all plastic card disposal bags and hand it over to the driver, who will record the bag's serial number on the confidential waste receipt note. Security. Identify waste disposal company employees by checking their identity cards, which incorporates a photograph before admitting to premises. If access to a secure area is required, a member of staff must accompany them. If a door, which is normally kept locked, has to be opened to allow access, a member of staff must be present at the door whilst it remains unlocked. If collection is via a door or area which is protected by a silent alarm, ensure the alarm has been disabled. If the collection is due outside normal working hours, observe morning arrival and entry procedures. Storage. Retain plastic card disposal bag under the control of a nominated employee during the day and in a locked drawer overnight. Store confidential waste separately from other waste before collection in a locked area where possible. Store ledgers and microfiche in a strong room or book safe. If this is not possible, except for current and previous year items, store in a location which can be locked overnight. If this is not possible, refer to the facilities manager. Old ledgers and bound books are tied in bundles suitable for handling without removing covers, brass or plastic rods, etc. Disposal. If the retention date has passed, prepare items for collection on the next due date. One member of staff may make up the consignments. When making up a plastic sack, ensure it is a reasonable weight to lift and carry, is not more than 3/4 full, has no holes and will not split, is secure and tied by gathering the neck and binding it with self-adhesive tape, does not contain contaminants, for example, metal, glass or other objects. Vouchers are disposed in cardboard boxes, tied in threes, or remove from the boxes and dispose of in green plastic sack as confidential waste. The next category of waste is food waste. Of the different types of organic wastes available, food waste holds the highest potential in terms of economic exploitation as it contains high amount of carbon and can be efficiently converted into biogas and organic fertilizer. Food waste can either be utilized as a single substrate in a biogas plant or can be co-digested with organic wastes like cow manure, poultry litter, sewage, crop residues, abattoir wastes, etc. Rising energy prices and increasing environmental concerns makes it more important to harness clean energy from food wastes. The next category of waste is hazardous waste. Hazardous waste that is generated at a site could be chemical, biological, or physical in nature. For example, the many cleaning chemicals used by the housekeeping staff, pesticides, needles, and contaminated linen or rag clothes could contain biological hazards. Most of the electrical and electronic equipment, including used batteries, cells, cables, wires, etc., are all examples of hazardous material. These wastes need to be managed as per the Hazardous Waste Management Handling and Transboundary Movement Rules 2008 notified. The The facility manager is responsible for the following while handling hazardous waste at the site. Should obtain necessary authorization from the respective pollution control board to handle HW in a safe and environmentally sound manner. Waste generated should be sent or sold to a registered and or authorized recycler or reprocessor or reuser, or to be disposed in an authorized disposal facility. Adequate steps should be taken to contain contaminants and prevent accidents and limit the consequences on humans and the environment. Provide persons working on the site with information, training and equipment necessary to ensure their safety. Let us have a look at storage of hazardous waste. Cannot be stored in an open area. Should have proper designated hazardous waste storage area clearly demarcated and segregated. The entry to the HW storage area should be strictly restricted, allowing only authorized personnel to have access to this area. Oil collected barrels should be kept in a secondary containment. It should be ensured that the designated storage area has sufficient protection against natural elements like rain, fire, etc. A prominent signage should be displayed at the entrance of the storage area along with a danger sign. An impervious flooring should be provided at the storage area to prevent seepage or spills. Ensure appropriate types of fire extinguishers are provided. HW storage period shall not exceed 90 days. Maintain the record of sale, transfer, storage, recycling and reprocessing. Now we will study about handling and disposal of hazardous waste. Waste should be collected and managed in appropriate chemically compatible containers. Transfer the used oil collected to the barrels for storage without any spillages or leakages using appropriate PPE, gloves, masks, safety shoes, goggles and apron. Ensure proper body posture at all times during transfer and loading of containers. Flammable waste should be stored in red safety cans with spring tops and flash arresters. Acidic material should be in corrosion-resistant containers. All HW should be labeled appropriately, should be visible and legible, and the containers should be positioned to have the labels outward. HW and non-HW should be segregated within secondary container or in same storage area. Do not put raw materials and waste next to each other. Chemically incompatible wastes must be segregated. Do not mix wastes. 90-day storage. Once designated as 90-day waste, this waste must be sent to a designated waste disposal facility within 90 days. Let us now understand how to manage the waste off-site. The facility management team at the site should manage the waste and unwanted items in compliance with set regulatory, permit and client requirements. Each site will have their own set methods and procedures to follow regarding the waste shipment and transportation requirements. The site also should identify specific designated locations for shipping the waste in the locality. In addition, all site programs must ensure compliance with all applicable local, state, and national regulatory requirements. Now we will see how to maintain records and what are the important factors to be considered while maintaining them. Records are maintained in accordance with local regulatory and permit requirements and may differ from state to state. There may be some returns which need to be submitted. Also, the retention policy for records may be dictated either by the regulations or by client. Permits, licenses and approvals related to specific waste. Agency correspondence including compliance reports. Records of all sampling and analysis as well as chain of custody forms. Compliance plans and SOPs. Copies of personal certifications or licenses and training records. Shipping records including manifests, bills of lading and certificates of destruction where available. Results of inspections and monitoring. Preventive maintenance and calibration records. calculations supporting compliance demonstrations. Now we will study what is the impact of waste management on business. Waste management can have a significant impact on business as businesses are being urged towards zero waste, which means that the waste that is produced is disposed of in the most environmentally sound way. Primarily, this is by reducing, reusing, and recycling. By introducing the recycling to the business, it is seen in a positive light by the staff and, more importantly, the customers. Recycling also affects a business by generating income from the waste. Rebates are available for good quality paper, cardboard, plastics, and other materials, which means that instead of paying hefty landfill taxes to dispose the waste, it can actually be treated as an income source for the business. It dramatically improves the green credentials of the business and reduces green gas emissions, that is sustainable waste management strategy. Besides the economic and healthy environmental factors stated above, there is also the legal obligation to effectively manage and dispose of waste. Failure to do so could result in the business becoming liable for any damages caused through their negligence. Serious medical conditions can result from the improper handling and disposal of waste. Bad waste management practices can result in land and air pollution and can also cause respiratory problems and other negative health effects. Hazardous chemicals in soil and water can harm plants and animals, which, when consumed by humans, have a negative effect on their health. Let us study about SLA or KPI guidelines. All waste is managed in accordance with the Waste Management Service Plan. All waste collection points are emptied at least daily and prior to being 75% full, malodorous, or posing risk to any personnel. All waste is handled in accordance with the Waste Management Service standards. All waste collection points display procedures to segregate waste at all times. All contractors performing any of the waste management services are appropriately licensed. All waste transferred from the site is disposed of in licensed waste disposal sites. Waste receptacles are positioned in areas identified in the Waste Management Service Plan. Required standards should be achieved for all continuous improvement indicators on an annual basis. Now let's learn about Indian laws for waste management. E-Waste Management Rules 2016. Solid Waste Management Rules 2016. Hazardous and Other Wastes Management and Transboundary Movement Rules 2016. Batteries Management and Handling Rules 2001. Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016. Biomedical Waste Management Rules 2016. That brings us to the end of the E-module on solid waste management. In this module, you learned about solid waste management, benefits of waste management, effects of poor waste management, categories of solid waste and waste management hierarchy, functional elements of waste management system, methods of solid waste management, prevention and management of solid waste at site, on-site and off-site waste management, how to maintain records, impact on business, Indian laws for waste management.